Hello and welcome to this introduction to the K2 WallPV facade rail. The facade rail is a solution for concrete and masonry walls. Using approved consoles, it meets the building regulations in many regions and can be used in heat insulated and back ventilated facades or curtain facades. With the use of insertion rail, closed surfaces are achieved and attractive overall appearance exists. The facade rails are connected to the facade using existing brackets or consoles and are installed laterally. The use of the existing brackets allows for a combination for traditional facades and also curtain facades. Using a combination with companies such as Hilti or EOT, the existing brackets allow for easily adaptable systems, concrete anchoring, and no thermal bridges within the facade installation. To take a closer look at the components in the K2 facade rail solution, let's dive into the assembly instructions. The first product in the assembly instructions is the console or bracket, which fixes to the facade wall. Attached to this is the facade rail itself, and connecting to that will be the cross connector and the anti-slip clip. Sitting in the cross connector set is the insertion rail 2.0, available in black or silver and suitable for modules of 30 or 40 millimeters in thickness. The end stops connect to the end of the insertion rail and stop any sideways movements of the modules. The rail connector set, sitting between the insertion rails, allows you to connect sections of rail together. The insertion rail cover can sit on the top or the bottom of the insertion rail and adds the final aesthetic touches to the system. The module safety sits between modules and ensures that a constant distance is held across the whole facade. The fixed stop are attached to the insertion rail either side of the cross connector sets and fixes the insertion rail to stop any transverse movements across the facade. The spring plug slides in to the cross connector set and ensures that the insertion rail does not move vertically on the facade wall. As an option, the TerraGriff provides a solution where equipotential bonding is required. Let's now take a look at an animation of the K2 facade rail assembly. The brackets fix on the wall with specifically designed screws. The facade rail will then fix into the brackets with 2 or 3 screws. The anti-slip plate and the cross connector set are fixed into the facade rail, and the insertion rail then slides into the cross connector set. This allows for easy installation of the modules horizontally or vertically with the easy installation in the insertion rail. The modules can then be installed vertically along the wall and then horizontally across. The distance between the brackets vertically will be determined on the length or width of the module depending on the orientation in the design. This distance will be given in the K2 report. The rails are then mounted vertically, first clipped into the brackets and then being fixed with screws in either round or slotted holes. This information is provided in the K2 report. The distance between the end of the rail and the bracket is shown here and can be found further in the assembly instructions. The cross connectors are then installed starting at the bottom of the outside 2 rails. The distance from the end of the rail is shown here, and the installation of the cross connector set utilizes the MK2 and an M8 nut. The insertion rail can then be installed in the cross connector utilizing the asymmetric shape of the cross connector set. Ensuring that the A shorter side is on top, the insertion rail installation is quick and simple. The remaining cross connector sets can then be installed by hanging them on the insertion rail and then sliding them between the insertion rail and the facade rail. They are then fixed using the MK2 and bolt as previously discussed. Spring plugs can then be inserted into the gap between the top part of the cross connector set and the insertion rail to ensure there is no vertical movement of the insertion rail over the lifetime of the system. The specific number of spring plugs required will be specified in the K2 report. If multiple rail lengths are needed, these can be joined together with the rail connector set. The position of the connector set should be no less than 100 millimeters away from the cross connector set. The fixed stop sets are placed in the middle of the insertion rail on either side of the cross connector set to ensure there is no rail movement due to thermal expansion over the lifetime of the installation. If multiple rail lengths are used, a fixed stop must be placed at the end of the rail as well. Once the initial rail has been installed, we can then move on to the rail directly above. The distance between the cross connector sets is relative to the height or width of the module, and this will be shown in the K2 report. Following the installation of the rails, the modules can be installed using the asymmetric function of the insertion rail. The modules are first slid up into the rail and then sit on the rail below. To ensure a standard distance between each module and help reduce vibrations, a module safety is then added. The final step is to install the end stop and ensure the modules are held securely in the system. Thanks for watching this video on the K2 WallPV facade rail.